You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast.
You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. My name is Sean Wilkie, and along with my awesome co host, we interview the innovators in this space every week. Ivan, please kick us off.
Hey, I'm Zach. I'm very excited today to introduce the friend of mine and the colleague and quite a number of years, as well as his dad, who carries the same name. I'm happy to introduce Dr. Rory Lubold. Rory is the founder of Affordable Pet Labs, a company focused on making diagnostic care more accessible and affordable for pet owners nationwide. He also leads Village Veterinary Advisors, where he has built and scaled several veterinary startups, including multiple specialty hospitals that serve as trusted regional referral centers. With a broad range of expertise in emergency medicine, surgery, canine rehabilitation therapy, hemodialysis, and wound care, Dr. Lubold, a skilled clinician dedicated to improving veterinary care. Rory, thank you for finding the time. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Exciting stuff. I met with you and we discussed this a little bit, so I want the audience to know all about it. This is very new beast, if you will, in our industry. I love the innovation behind it. Tell us all about Affordable Pet Labs and what it is about.
Yeah, so Affordable Pet Labs is really a new take on accessibility to pet diagnostics. So we founded in 2019, and the idea was breaking down as many barriers as we could to the access to diagnostics. So blood testing, fecal testing, urine, skin bacterial testing. And so we really kind of set out to say, how can we break down those barriers and improve access to care? And we kind of look at the access to care component as both physical access. So can you get an appointment to see your vet? Can you physically get there? Can you get your pet in there? Are they overly stressed? Things like that. But also the affordability component of why are diagnostics as expensive as they are? Can we make that more affordable, which then opens up more resources for pet parents to be able to actually.
Yeah, that makes tons of sense. So, 2019 start date, what does this look like today? And what was the path like since 2019 to today?
Yeah, so we started in Phoenix, and we started with a couple of blood phlebotomy teams that did in-home phlebotomy out of Phoenix, and we had technicians that people would order online, and we'd send technicians to the home to collect a blood sample. We didn't think it was fair to ask pet parents to collect their own blood sample. That was not okay. So we send technicians, pairs of technicians to the home. They collect a blood sample and then send the results back to the pet parent, generally within about 24 hours. So that started in Phoenix alone. And then since that time, we continue to grow. We're currently in 19 cities with blood testing teams across the US, so all US based. So we have blood testing teams in 19 cities, and those are pairs of technicians. And then we have the ability to send kits that can do anything that doesn't require a blood sample. So things like urine samples, fecal and stool testing, ear cultures, things like that that we can send out. So that's nationwide and into Canada and Mexico as well. But blood testing is in the 19 cities.
That's so cool. I mean, we're in Canada where if you need blood work as a human, you need to be dying to actually get it done. So, what I loved, and this is why actually in 2019, or no, wait, anyway, a couple of years ago, I went to Ukraine before the war started and actually to have our daughter being born there because the medical care was available and affordable and it was on demand. So that's what I loved about it. I could just run my blood work. I didn't need anybody to interpret it. I could walk into the lab and it was just, I want my blood work. Select the menu. They have profiles, whatever you want, and you could do it. And this is truly democratizing it. The one thing that I wanted to ask is that as they run this blood, is there ability to interpret it as well? I know that anybody can throw it into Chat GPT, which is another huge help today. So you can just get the blood work, throw it into Chat GPT and challenge your vet. But is there a service attached to it where you can interpret it?
So it's a good question, and it's one of the things that we've wrestled with over the years because our position is really about making the diagnostics accessible so that people can do wellness monitoring or even sick pet monitoring, but not emergent pet monitoring. So that's an important sort of distinction. But we also, we're here to strengthen the relationship that pet parents have with their veterinarian, not to get in the way of it. And so our goal is to provide the access to the diagnostic testing. And then if they have a veterinarian, refer them back to their vet for interpretation and recommendations, treatment, next steps. What we have found, which is I think probably the most surprising thing for me, is about 70% of our patients don't have a veterinarian. So what's amazing is these are pets that probably wouldn't have gotten diagnostics previously because they don't have a regular vet, they don't have a relationship with somebody. And so the neat thing about that is that gives us an opportunity to open a dialogue and say, your lab work should be interpreted by a doctor. Here's a wonderful telehealth platform or a local veterinarian that you should meet with. And so we can actually encourage those relationships with that 70% of our clients that don't have any relationship currently.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, and it's kind of it stole my previous question, so I'm having to adapt it on the fly, but I think it's still really valid, which is, so you've got this audience that doesn't have a vet, you've got people that do have a vet. Vets do this type of diagnostic testing in-house in a lot of cases. What does that relationship with the vet, that is the family vet, look like, and how are you supplementing or adding value to the process, and how do you make sure that you're not perceived as a threat to the local vet clinic?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see how it would easily have the sort of the threat vibe or something that would be a little concerning at first glance. What it really comes down to, and of that 30% of our clients that have a veterinarian, about half of those actually are referred by their vet. And if you look at the story and say, Mrs. Smith has a 100-pound dog and she's 90 years old and can't lift that dog in the car, but he's on an anti-inflammatory and needs medication, so he should have lab work every 3 to 6 months, not asking that poor pet parent to drag their big dog in or the scared cat into the clinic every 3 to 6 months for lab testing, and being the sort of hero to say, look, let me send somebody to your house and we'll continue to provide that care. That actually helps to build the relationship with clients that you're going above and beyond for them. So for me, that's been one of the biggest and most rewarding things, is that it's actually expanding their care and opening up the clinic staff to be able to focus on pets that need to be coming in every day rather than the routine lab testing.
So it looks like it works actually completely opposite to what I was thinking. Then essentially, you're becoming a referral point to them. If you catch, certain disease or they see that it's abnormal, they would probably be motivated to go to a vet, and you can have that base, and then vice versa. They can send those clients to you, which is phenomenal. I bet that you don't have any difficulty hiring people. Is this something that you like? How do you find these techs to go and do this? Are they willing to jump in after hours on their day off? What does that look like for you as you scale?
Yeah, as we've scaled up, that's probably been one of the other big surprises for us. We have about 30 qualified applicants for every job that we open in any new city. And the reason in the state of veterinary medicine right now, that's impressive, right? Because it's hard to hire good staff. And the reason for that is twofold. One, we're asking for people to come and get some extra, we pay well, so we're asking for them to come get some extra hours on their days off or use it as a full-time gig. But the idea behind that is one of the most stressful things that for technicians or support staff in general is having to deal with the financial constraints of, clients are stressed about money or they're stressed about their sick pet. And so this allows them to go in and do just the technical piece of, building a relationship with a client, doing the phlebotomy in a low stress environment. They don't have to deal with taking payment. They don't have to deal with a lot of, the all the other stuff that's stressful, and we actually expect and hope that our technicians maintain regular jobs in clinics so that they can continue to keep those skills.
They also don't have annoying doctors behind them, and which is, I think, is a big stress
That's the truth.
for technicians. So yeah, I can see how that'd be very liberating to go to homes and not deal with vets and just collect blood, which is what your skill is. I think that's great. So
And they're participating in the care at a really high level with pet parents who are participating in the care. So it really makes everybody happier with the situation.
yeah, that's cool. So what does it look like as you continue? I mean, this is a pretty significant growth and sounds amazing. So congratulations to that. What are the next steps? Does the scale look like for you?
So next steps for us, our mission is to expand access to care anywhere that we can. So we're focused on major metropolitan areas and we're growing to some rural areas that may not have enough veterinarians to serve the community. And so areas where telehealth is sort of growing because of the lack of access to physical vets. And so for us, we're going to continue to grow. We've been really fortunate to have built a really strong team so far. And so we're kind of looking for areas where we know we can continue to build a good technician team and build relationships with clients. And so we're at 19 cities now. The goal is for us to grow to at least another 10 or 12 in the next 6 to 12 months, depending on the trajectory. So each new city takes us about 4 to 6 weeks to build a new city. and we can do a couple of those at a time.
We should get you to move to Canada and build a couple of cities for us because it takes us a lot longer to build cities here, Rory. Just joking. Rory, all of this is really kind of fascinating for me, kind of just looking at it from the outside and not really understanding all in the mechanics of how to do this. But what were some of the big surprises along the way from City Zero to City 19?
Yeah, I think the logistics ended up being a lot more difficult than what we initially anticipated. Having to run multiple field teams at a time in multiple time zones is different than even like multi-city hospital operations because they're field teams, and so that was a big challenge. I was surprised to see how easy it was for us to hire technicians, like good quality technicians. So that was really surprising. I was also surprised to see how many of our clients don't have a vet. I expected it to be the other way around. And so I think for us, that was the biggest thing. And then raising awareness has probably been the biggest challenge is this is a new way to deliver medicine or parts of medicine, right? So raising awareness that this is an option, it's something that can benefit them. Clients want to participate in care. They really want to be part of the care, but showing them that it's an option is because it hasn't been before has been a little bit of an uphill battle from an education standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, let's zero in on they don't have vets. So somebody wants a blood sample or a fecal sample. What the heck do they want that? Like, how do they know what they want? And like, what are they hoping to get out of it if they don't have somebody to interpret it? That just kind of blows my mind. This episode is sponsored by Zomedica and their VetGuardian monitor. With VetGuardian, you can get continuous wire-free monitoring of vital signs like temperature, pulse, and respiration without the need for invasive leads or wearables. This means fewer stressful checks and a more comfortable experience for your patients. What's truly impressive is its zero-touch technology, capturing vital signs from up to 5 feet away. And through the VetGuardian Cloud app, you can monitor your patients remotely, getting real-time insights, live video feeds, and even thermal imaging with night vision for those overnight stays. VetGuardian is all about staying ahead. You'll receive instant alerts via text and email or audio notifications, and it makes managing patient records, reports, and videos a breeze. Whether you're at the clinic or at home, VetGuardian has you covered. Want to see it in action today? Schedule a demo at zomedica.com.
I think a lot of people are seeing the kind of quantified self movement on the human side and looking at all the data that they can collect about themselves. And I mean, we're headquartered in Phoenix. In Arizona, you've long been able to order your own blood work for yourself as a human. And so people are accustomed to that and all the human companies that are coming out. So I think they're looking at this going, if this is what I should be doing for me, what should I be doing for my pet that, that I love like my child, right? And so realistically, most people are reaching out saying, I've got a 7-year-old dog. What should I be looking at? What should I be checking every year? And that's how they start this journey. And we've got crazy thing. If you call our phone number, we pick up with a human. It's weird these days, but we have a human who actually picks up the phone, and our chat is manned by people. And so that's, I think, helpful for people to select which test they get.
That's awesome. I mean, because of our Canadian medicine, I every time I go to US, I do blood work, like essentially because I can do it, because I can actually order it. And then, my recent 2 MRIs of my spine and a knee in Mexico, then in Germany, and then a cruciate surgery in Germany. So this is what we have to do. So anytime you can bring this to service people as well, I'm sure Canada will accept you. But so, what does 5 years down the road look like to you? What does that dream look like? Where do you want to be?
I think for us, the next 3 to 5 years really looks at building out the infrastructure. We've got a lot of capacity now, building that out so that we can serve more, and then starting to work at a higher level with hospitals and groups of hospitals because there's so much capacity for the monitoring and for wellness and preventative care. If we can provide that, we've been looking really strongly at some of the wellness programs around, how do we help to extend that wellness program in home, right? And so, how do we extend the telehealth platforms to the in home, right? We've got hands on pets that we go and do blood testing with. And so, telehealth, that's one of the major drawbacks. They don't have hands on. And so, we're doing a trial program right now with sort of a technician driven physical exam, which is It's not the same as a doctor's physical exam, but there is objective data that the technicians can gather while they're there doing lab testing. So it's one of the things that we're piloting, and I think that in the future that's going to be a big area that the 6-month recheck can be done at least partially in a remote basis, and we can partner with hospitals that want to be part of that.
Yeah, the fascinating thing, Rory, for me, kind of being involved in this industry and working with a lot of veterinary technicians, credentialed and otherwise, at my company and throughout the industry, is they really seem like they want upward career trajectory. There's not much opportunity for them. And opportunities like yours or upskilling the profession to provide more care when the access to care is a big issue seems like there's a real opportunity there. So it's really interesting to see you innovate with inside that role and uncover these opportunities as you guys move forward. I guess the next question, I want to double back on one of Ivan's questions, which is, you're sending these lab results back to them, but there seems to be an opportunity for an interpretation of those lab results. And where are you guys going to go with that? Or are you not touching that with the 10-foot pole or sending them back to the vet? Or, is there innovation opportunity there, do you think?
I think there's probably innovation opportunity. We've stayed away from it. Honestly, I think as a company, we probably will continue to stay away from it, mostly because we want that relationship with their veterinarian or with a veterinarian who's in a position to provide next steps in treatment and long-term recommendations. We're very hyper focused at this point that we are a diagnostic platform and a wellness platform for providing data. We provide the data that they need to maintain that health. So while we could probably fairly easily build out, and to be honest, we do review all the lab work that comes in. Every morning, the lab work that comes in, two of our founders are veterinarians. So every morning, the lab work that comes in gets reviewed by our doctors. And if something is really askew, our team actually will call the client and recommend they go see a doctor that day. So we do have a process for this, but it's probably not something that we're going to dive into.
That in and of itself is incredible, right? Like that's an incredible add-on and really supportive to that local veterinary connection, saying, your lab work, there's some real bad stuff in here. There's some things that really need to be addressed, and then sending them over there. That seems like an incredible value add that you're probably not even billing for.
Not at all. No, that's what we see as our community responsibility of if we have the data, we need to act on it in some way, even if it's not us doing it.
I think what Sean is thinking here is how can he implement Talkatoo into this so they can dictate the blood work into it and it will give them the answer. I think that's what he's going into.
To be honest, my pipe dream with that would be to have not necessarily an interpretation of your dog's blood work, if you did your dog's labs, but to have a fairly high level summary of what, similar findings would mean in a dog that shared your dog's similar, signalment. So, once you get into the deep dive of your dog has X disease, now you're in diagnosis territory, which is probably not something that we want to get into. But hey, azotemia can sometimes be an indicator of X, Y, and Z. That facilitates a conversation with a veterinarian, and that's really what we want to be doing.
Pushes it more towards it. Yeah. Well, fascinating. Rory, where do people find you? How do they find your website? How do they look into it? How do they partner as veterinarians, which is our audience? Tell us all about that.
So our website is affordablepetlabs.com. So you can go on there. We have some great programs for rescues. We work really, really well with 501c3 rescues. We have a great program for them. We have a veterinary program as well, so that if you want to refer your pets to us, then we end up billing the clinics, and so the clinics can have their own sort of internal billing set up, but we will do the in-home service. So we've got some great programs for that, and both the phone number, the chat, we are highly, highly responsive. So if you find us on the website, you can find all of our testing, which is pretty much every test that you can do from a normal reference lab, we can do with a few exceptions.
That's great, Roy. It sounds really innovative. It sounds like you guys are well on your way to kind of making a positive change. So really exciting to kind of watch along for the journey. We ran out of time. We always do. Got a couple questions to wrap up. The first is YouTube, TED Talk, something you found inspiring that you'd like to share with our listeners.
So yeah, just finished reading. Arnold Schwarzenegger has a book out called "Be Useful." So really, kind of a high level on sort of having the big vision and having a kind of a clear vision and a structure and a roadmap to get there. And so I found that was really it was inspiring to see his kind of story, but also just to have a structured vision for how do you build a meaningful life.
Yeah. Oh, that would be interesting to read. He's the guy who sets the goals and achieves them. So that's
His Netflix series was incredible as well. He's a cool dude.
awesome.
He's really interesting. Yeah, I love watching his stuff, and reading his stories was really neat.
That's awesome. The second question that we ask, is there another entrepreneur innovator in our industry that you would like to recommend for the show?
Yeah, one of my co-founders with Affordable Pet Labs, so Dr. Joe Minicucci, he's got a really interesting background and is focused on the large animal side, but also has been instrumental in building Affordable Pet Labs. Like it wouldn't be where it is today without his leadership on the ops side. So it's been he's got a really interesting story to tell.
Thank you so much for listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. If you want to hear about our new episodes, please follow us on any social media channel. Also, you can check out our website at veterinaryinnovationpodcast.com. See you next week.